All right, I am in the Tacoma, all geared up to go camping for a day, a week, 2 weeks, a month, I don't know. I started out with the intention of making my way up to Montana. I do want to go up over Beartooth Pass. Right now, I am up in the Hayuintas. I just came over the top of Bald Mountain Pass and I'm started down on the north side of the pass headed towards Wyoming. And look what's going on. That's right, it's raining. I think the weatherman said that the monsoonal flow was going to start to move into the area up here. And of course, you got to remember, we're probably still 8,000 or 9,000 feet above sea level here, so it doesn't take much. And we're up in the middle of the mountains, so the mountains push the clouds up and condense the rain and it falls out. But I've even heard a little thunder and lightning going on. So it's quite nice. Now, it was raining on the actual Bald Mountain Pass, which I'd planned on stopping and hanging out at for a little bit. But I will not complain. Man, we need this rain so bad. Hopefully this monsoon thing will pan out and we'll get rain all across the state, and maybe we can put out some of these fires that are burning and put a little water in these reservoirs that are drying up. Speaking of reservoirs, my tentative plan for tonight is to head over to the Flaming Gorge area. And I have not checked the water database directly to see what the actual elevation of the lake is today. But I've heard anecdotal reports that it's down 30 feet now from where it was when spring started, whatever. So let's go have a look at that and see how it looks. And maybe we'll even be able to kind of do a before and after, because I did take a lot of footage when I was up there last go around when I was talking about how dismal the water year is turning out to be. All right, well, I found a pretty decent spot to spend the night, but I've got a little rant to do. This seems to be a Utah thing. Maybe it happens everywhere else on BLM land or National Forest land. There's supposed to be a 14-day camping limit. It doesn't seem to be enforced very well, because a lot of people come up and plant their trailer and unload all their generator and all that stuff, and they leave it for the summer, or at least for 2 or 3 weeks. I just drove up through the Uintas, and I go through the Uintas a fair amount, and the same places have got the same trailers in them essentially all summer. And I just think that's kind of the most selfish thing you could do, right? Is you're going up there on the weekends, maybe every weekend, maybe not every weekend, but you've decided that that particular camp spot in the National Forest is yours, and no one else can use it because all your crap is sitting there. Whether you're there or you're down in the valley or you've flown off to Tahiti for the week. So, I don't know. Do you like that practice? Do you do it? Do they do it where you live? It drives me nuts, man. Just take your stuff home and let someone else camp there if you're not there. Especially all week. People come up here during the week, old retired dudes like me, and all these campers are sitting around, trailers and fifth wheels and stuff, and they're locked up, no one's at them, but they're taking the spot. All right, well, this is my after dinner check-in. It's the first night out. I've got the tent all set up, ready to go. I just finished dinner and a beer, and I'm contemplating having another one of those. It's a beautiful night now. The clouds are still covering most of the sky. There's blue sky poking out here and there, but they've calmed way down from what they looked like earlier when they looked like they were trying to make hail on me. So it's in the low 80s, probably high 70s, something like that. It's a perfect temperature, and it's now quiet. So whatever generator I could hear earlier is shut off, I guess. So it's quiet, and just me and a squirrel that I seem to be annoying. He's chirping at me a little bit, but I haven't been down to the lake yet. Tomorrow's plan is to go kind of first thing down to Flaming Gorge and see what it looks like from up close. Now, I looked at it a little bit from Sheep Creek. There's pieces of land sticking up there out of that Sheep Creek Canyon that I've never seen before. So I've never seen it at this level, and I kept my boat up here 2 different boats in Cedar Springs for quite a few years. So I feel like I kind of know of what that which I speak. I wasn't sure if I was going to mention this at all on the channel, but my dad passed away a couple of weeks ago. Unexpectedly, very sudden. And I've been kind of as I've been sitting here tonight, I've been kind of remembering how he introduced me to this kind of camping, just going out in the middle of nowhere somewhere. Growing up, we had an old 63 Chevy panel truck. That was his work truck during the week. So he'd built a plywood wall behind the driver's seat, because it was all open initially. And he'd put up a plywood wall behind the seats with a little door in it so he could close off the passenger compartment to keep it warmer. And then in the back, he had 2, I think they were 15 or 30 gallon barrels. They must have been 15s. Anyway, he'd plumbed them up for extra gas storage. So they were inside the vehicle on some wooden, mounts that he built for him. They were strapped down and all that, and they were plumbed in so that he could reach down underneath his seat and turn a knob to change from the main tank to one of those tanks when he started to run out. But those were what we sat on in the back, us kids. Because the only windows, it was a panel truck, so the only windows were the windows in the doors in the very back. So the only way as a kid you could see anything, because there was a wall in the front, was to look out the back, and the best seat in the house was sitting on those barrels. So luckily we never got rear-ended, or we'd have been like we'd have gone up like a 70s Pinto or something. We'd have made headlines for sure. But he was in the Civil Air Patrol, so he would go out whenever a plane went down. He would go fly the search and rescue with the Civil Air Patrol. And so as a byproduct of that, he had all these topographic maps. And on those maps, they had all the locations of previous crashed airplane remains, marked on the map. So if you were searching for a downed aircraft and you saw one, you could check the map and make sure it wasn't an old one. But that was what we did a lot of times on our camping adventures. Was he would say, we're going to go over this way, and there's a blah 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 Cessna 182 that crashed there, and we're going to go see if we can find it. Now, I don't recall ever finding one, but it was the good reason to go. And we did a lot of exploring on crazy wild roads. We'd go everywhere in that old truck, and we'd hike and all that kind of stuff. So never once went to Disneyland as a kid, but had great adventures going out in the boonies with my dad and my family, and my whole family, in that old truck. And then at one point, as we started to get older, we upgraded to a camper that sat in the back of a pickup truck, and it changed everything. That's what I'm afraid of right now, as I'm looking at my rig with the Tacoma here, and I'm contemplating selling the house, and I'm trying to figure out what am I going to wind up in. I'm worried about doing what we did when we bought that camper, because we took most of the adventure out of our adventures, and we started only camping in campgrounds because the camper couldn't go on dirt roads. And so we'd pull in the camper and level the thing up and click on the lights and sit around the table and eat a cooked meal over the thing that didn't have any ashes or dirt in it, and play cards and go to bed on beds. And before, we'd cook over the fire and sleep in a tent, and we'd hear the crickets and the coyotes and all that kind of stuff. So I really do have to figure out what I'm going to do, because I getting where I'm not doing that great with just the camp, the rooftop tent. I mean, it's just kind of a hassle climbing the ladder and getting down the ladder, and if you got to pee in the middle of the night or something. So I got to figure this out, but not today. Today is, I'm just gonna revel in the quiet and ponder life. I mean, the one thing I just really, the only thing, I mean, we've been, my parents are pretty elderly, and we've kind of, you kind of know you start to get yourself ready for losing them. But you always in your mind think there's going to be one more conversation or one more chance to get together. And there isn't always, So as they get older, you got to kind of take the time to take the time, because you just never know when the last time is you're going to see them. All right, well, I've made it to Flaming Gorge. I'm going to try to give you some facts here and a little bit of side-by-side comparison. So I went back in the database to March 29th. That was the last time I was at Flaming Gorge when I filmed that first video. And you can see the elevation then was 6,022 feet above sea level. But the interesting thing was the inflow from the rivers was 1,264 cubic feet per second. The outflow was only 800. So basically, we were bringing in a third more than we were letting out there. And then for comparison, I was back on the 16th of July. Now the elevation was 6,013 feet, so not down as far as I had heard, but now you can see our inflow is only 612 cubic feet per second, so half of what it was back in March, but the outflow is now 1,953 cubic feet per second. So we're bringing in a lot less and letting out a lot more now. So yeah, now I didn't get my camera angles perfectly exact here to give you a side-by-side, but as we pan around to the dam area on July 19th or 16th here and compare that back to March, you can kind of see the difference a little bit here. Again, sorry I didn't get the camera angles perfectly in sync, but you can see that difference in the lake level around the shoreline. Okay, so what I'll say in kind of looking at these kind of views side by side here is, well, two things. First of all, if I have to do this again next year, I'll be a little more scientific about setting my cameras up so I can do a, early in the year and later in the year and give you a better comparison view, because I just didn't have my cameras lined up perfectly each time I shot these, so they're off a little bit. But I wasn't horrified by how far down Flaming Gorge was, and the marina is a little bit low, but still in place, fully functional. It looks like, you got to be careful getting around the end of some of the finger piers and so forth, but yeah, it's still operating. And the dam, surprisingly enough, I kind of expected water to really be boiling out of the bottom of that thing, and it really isn't. Now, it does make me wonder if maybe they turn the water up a little at night, because during the day there's a ton of people fishing on this thing and rafting on it and so forth. But we'll continue to watch this water situation. It's not getting much better, but maybe this rain will help.